Hey everybody, it's Roger with Kinsta. Today I'm joined by Matt. Hey Matt, how are you?
Doing well, Roger. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So for those who are not initiated, Matt is the mastermind behind the Matt Report, WP Minute, countless other, I'm sure I'm missing on things. And so I'm going to give you the opportunity to kind of introduce yourself and what your place is in the WordPress ecosystem.
Yeah, so I've been doing WordPress now for eternity. My day job is at Gravity Forms as their community side of WordPress. And I'm very envious of your role. When I used to sell hosting at a company called Pagely, I would have loved to be able to do what you're doing while I was selling hosting, but sadly that didn't happen. But I've been doing a lot of WordPress media for quite some time. Matt Report, WP Minute, both on podcast and the YouTube side. And then again, day job, Gravity Forms, doing their podcast breakdown, gravityforms.com/breakdown if you're an avid Gravity Forms user. And you'll see me on their YouTube channel as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I'm loving the silky smooth voice. Is that a Shure we've got there?
Yeah, this is an SM7B. I threw this thing out many months ago because I really dislike the way my voice sounds with this thing. But in my studio, which is in a co-working space, the ceilings are literally like 15 feet high.
Okay.
And it does a really good job at canceling some of that reverb in the room. But I really don't love the muddy sound of my tone.
Okay.
And I'm too lazy to do it in post-production, so I just ship it.
It sounds great for me. So, Matt, just looking at like your history, I see you went to UMass Dartmouth. I'm not sure your LinkedIn doesn't describe what you studied there, but can you kind of draw a line between what you were studying and what got you into the web world and eventually WordPress?
So what I studied was mostly partying and not going to class.
This guy.
I grew up in... my family owned car dealerships. My grandfather started a car dealership back in the 70s. It was one of the very first Mazda dealerships in the country. Then my father and his brothers took it over early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, something like that. It was a General Motors dealership for a while, had all the General Motors brands, and then sort of consolidated down to Cadillac and Chevy as General Motors shed weight. And then when they went bankrupt in the financial crisis of 2007 to 2008, my father and I started a digital agency, and I had been working at an ISP. I was their only person there that knew. This goes all the way back to like when cPanel first launched, and we were like, "What's this cPanel thing? And what's this shared Linux hosting thing we could do?" That's how far back it was. We were doing like ASP hosting, where as a system admin, I have to like log in and reboot IIS services on Saturday afternoons, like all the time to keep the server going. So I was like very involved with like Linux and open source and understanding how to like put these products together. Worked at Circuit City, was in selling computers. I was like printing money as a salesperson selling computers because everybody wanted computers back then. And I started to get more involved in the tech, in open source, in Linux, right? I'd have customers come in and pick up boxes of Linux off the shelf when you used to do that and buy the cheapest computer in the store and say, "Oh, I'm going to run this Linux thing." And I was like, "You're going to do what now? How are you going to do that?" And that was really like what propelled me into the space, started exploring. Fast forward again, we start the digital agency. At the ISP, I was the guy who helped run a web design arm that we acquired from another ISP. They were using Drupal. Long story short, their lead designer was like, "Hey, Matt, this Drupal thing is terrible to try to design and style with." This is back Drupal 4, 5. And he was like, "I found this thing called WordPress. I think this is the future." And we just got involved doing WordPress and sort of left Drupal behind. It was easy to style. And then I left that company, started a web design agency with my dad, and we were all in on WordPress. Some of the early folks in the company, Jeff Galinsky, who now works at Automatic, John DeRojas works at Bluehost. And in our local meetup, it was a plethora of well-known WordPress folks like Jesse Friedman, also WP Cloud at Automatic, Jay Tripp, who's now at Awesome Motive. He was part of the local meetup, and Jake Goldman, who you just had on the show from 10up. And we all would go to the same meetup, and we all kind of learned and got into WordPress at the same time, roughly. And it was a fun time, those early days of WordPress.
Sure, sure. So in the meetup you're alluding to, I'm assuming is the Boston meetup.
No, because actually I'm closer to Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay.
So it was in Providence. It was downtown Providence, so we'd always have it there. I think Providence had 2 like official WordCamps. One I was a part of as like the fundraiser. That was fun. And second one, I just went as an attendee. But yeah, Providence actually closer to me.
Okay. All right. And so this is, we're talking heyday 2009 to 2013, 14, when, I mean, it was just all up and to the right. Everything's popping. As in with the agency, what were you guys focused in any place in specific, or was it just a general approach?
Yeah, so it was a general approach. Again, my dad was doing photography, and when he sold the car dealership and got out of the car dealership stuff, he was just like, okay, what am I going to do? I got this sort of passion for photography, and he just went back into business with air quotes right after selling that and started freelancing as a professional photographer. And he took some commercial work for like, I think it was a jewelry store was the first one that he did, and the proprietor of the jewelry place asked if he could do a website for the photos because they didn't have a website. Remember, this is years and years ago. So he was like, I don't do it, but my son might know how to do it. And I was like, yeah, I can, make a few $100 on the side. And then he got another client and then another client, and they kept asking for websites as he was doing like all this great photography. And I just took the knowledge from running the agency side of the ISP from where I was before, and we kind of compound that into what's known as Slocum Studio. He still runs that today. I ran that for about a decade, and then I started having kids, 3 young boys now. And at that point, I was like, yeah, I need something a little bit less stressful in my life to earn a living. And I got out of agency life, and that's what got me into Pagely at the time.
Okay, all right. So you get out of agency life, you get into Pagely, hosting world. While it is the sharks, there is a little bit more stability. We've got the MRR and everything. When did you start really diving into this podcasting and the audio and the video world?
Yeah, so the podcast started back when I started. The Matt Report started back when we started the agency, a few years into it. I remember Jake signing his first like big customer. It might have been, Verizon or AOL. I forget what it was. Big brand. And this is before I even got to know him. And he was just like presenting at the Providence meetup. And he was just talking about how the WordPress community, it was easy for him to get these clients because back then people were just like, oh, there's an alternative to Microsoft or Adobe back then. And, there's only a handful or whatever. So people are jumping into the boat for WordPress, and he just happened to be there. I mean, I'm making that sound a lot easier than it is, but he happened to be there, and they were like, hey, we're a big client, we're a big brand, who can build us this website? And he did it, and he was able to get those clients is basically what I'm getting at. And I was like, how am I going to do this? I'm not connected in the community like Jake was, and I'm not an engineer or developer type like Jake is either, so I can't answer like these super technical questions. So I was a big fan of Mixergy, Andrew Warner, and I was just like, maybe I'll do something that's like the Mixergy for WordPress, and I'll just start interviewing people and see what happens. And fast forward like a lot of other like podcast success stories, it just opened up a ton of doors. It was a great way to network. In fact, started to drive traffic to the agency once I started partnering with bigger agencies like Jake and WebDev, who were like, we can't take these small, like $5,000, $10,000 clients. We need bigger projects. So I was like, I'll take them. I get to know people, and I'll take them and help grow the agency. And it became a sales tool at that point, because then once we started to build a portfolio, and somebody would ask, inevitably somebody would be like, oh, why should we pick you? It's like, well, here's the work that we do. Here's our core competencies. And by the way, at the time, I was like, I have the #1 podcast for WordPress. So literally all of it's out on the table. Like how I run this business is out there. You can go listen to it. And if you like what we do, then it's a good fit. And it became a sales advantage, later.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So as we're coming up on time here. I'm trying to keep these short and brief. As you're looking forward, with web design and the WordPress community and seeing what you've been through, what's kind of exciting you the most about what's coming next?
Yeah. So I think WordPress will continue to, evolve and mature and become the tool that a lot of folks want to build websites with. I think, there are many threads that people are struggling with these days in WordPress, but one of them is this tool for a web designer / agency, or is this a tool for publishing and folks who just want to start like a blog? I think both can be true. I mean, that's the tension that I see. And I think both can be true. And I think we'll start to see WordPress become a better web design tool. I know it sounds weird, but there are pockets of people who are like, no, these other page builders are way better than WordPress core. Okay. And while I agree that those are tailored to web designers, I think WordPress will start to evolve where you're going to be building your typical client sites inside WordPress. There are purists out there who are like, no way, man. I want to write my CSS. I want to write my JavaScript. But I think with the APIs as they mature, and as the block-based editing becomes a lot faster, a lot leaner and meaner, we're going to be doing this stuff right in WordPress, and it's going to be an interesting time for using the software in the next couple of years. And I'd be remiss to say that before we close it out, Kinsta is a fantastic sponsor of my content at the WP Minute. So thank you, Kinsta, for that stuff. They help our team cover all of this stuff and make sure that we're keeping it in view for our readers.
Beautiful. Love the plug there. That was not prompted. And I also I love the insight that you're talking about there, because obviously you've got Wix, Squarespace, all these Webflow even that are very tailored experiences. But at the end of the day, you can't explore the code that is being used to build that. You can't hire somebody to come in and help you with that. And on the flip side, man, the experience is getting a lot better. Just as a quick caveat, I was trying to update a blog this weekend, and the WordPress mobile app wasn't working for whatever reason. And I just logged into the WP admin in the Safari browser on my phone, and I was able to make a post really with no problem. And that was kind of an aha moment for me.
And that hasn't even, like, the mobile experience, which is crazy to say going into 2025, hasn't even been touched yet for WordPress. Like, you logged in, you were able to do it, but it's not like tailored for it. And one other important thing that I think gets sort of undersold in this whole open source thing, it's not just about the freedom of being, and this is why it is important that WordPress remains, hopefully a beacon for open source. The education factor, like what you said, is I can just take this, learn from it, and even if I don't use it, I learned how the essence of the web works, right? If you're totally new to this stuff, I put myself in the shoes where I was like 20 years ago when I first installed Linux. I had to learn like how to program the Ethernet card to connect to the internet. I had to learn all of this stuff in order to make the computer function and get a desktop running so I can see it. WordPress has that not luxury, but it has that benefit where people can download it, access it, and pick it apart and learn everything about the web, even if they move on from it. And that's very powerful.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Matt, we're well over time here. Sorry. I appreciate you. No, it's both of us. I appreciate you coming on and spending some time with me. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, gravityforms.com is where you'll find me during the day. Check out gravityforms.com. And if you want to learn more about WordPress stuff happening, thewpminute.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. Matt, thank you again. I appreciate your insights, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Awesome, man.